Come hither, microphone cable. Well, hello, all you lovely creatures. I am coming to you today. I'm sort of simulating a live stream. I have the technology to be able to live stream, but I've never done it before, and I didn't want to have to figure out how to do it. And yeah, but anyway, the reason why I'm kind of calling this like a pseudo live stream is that I intend to not edit this video at all. Part of the reason why I'm doing a Q&A and this kind of video is just because I felt bad because I was, I've been uploading, 1 to 2 videos per week on this channel, and then this month I uploaded like 1 video this month, and that's it, nothing else. And the reason why is I've been working on, I'm sure a lot of you know, I've been working on this really huge project video that's like many videos in one practically. It's going to be really long. Hopefully it's going to be really good and it'll be worth it. But anyway, I've been working on that a lot, and then I had this other project, this other video that I was going to try to pump out before that. But that one turned out to be bigger than I thought it would be as well. So I have like these 2 bigger video projects that I'm working on, and then I'm also doing the legwork for my intermediate Japanese, Nihongo 2, that series that's going to start up in January. So I've been doing a lot of work on this channel, just behind the scenes stuff and not posting any content. And I keep getting surprise translating jobs. Like the last week I was supposed to not have any translating work, and I would have edited the videos and had them uploaded by now, but I got all this surprise translating and proofreading work, which is nice because money, but anyway, yeah. So that's my long-winded explanation of why I'm probably not going to be editing this video at all. So I'm gonna leave in all the awkward things like what I did just now, and when I stutter over my words, and when I pause and look at things. So pretend it's a live stream, and then you'll be more forgiving. Anyway, I have tea, of course. My husband and I actually just ate Christmas dinner, or Christmas Eve dinner. It's Christmas Eve. I don't know when I'm going to post this. Probably Christmas Eve? Maybe Christmas. So if I post it Christmas Eve, maybe nobody will watch it because they'll all be asleep by the time I would post it. Anyway, I'm drinking, this is like a green-white Asian pear nashi tea. Yeah, and I like it. It actually tastes like nashi. I'm pretty sure it's artificially flavored, but it actually tastes like it. Okay, you didn't come here to listen to me ramble about live streaming and not live streaming and how busy I am. I'm going to answer your questions now. So I've seen some of these questions, but not all of them. I'm just going to go through. So I also asked my IRL friends on Facebook if they had any questions. I don't think they did. Plus, I didn't post a picture with my post, so the almighty algorithm probably cursed me, and they're like, we're not going to show that post to anybody. I'm barely on Facebook anymore either. That's partly why I'm hey, tell me what's going on in your life. And by the way, if you have any questions for me, post them below and then I will address them in a video. The video part probably turned them off. They're like, what? I don't want to be in a video. Okay, hey, I got one question from Kylie. So there's a comment from her. Okay. Any new food adventures for you? Well, a lot of the food adventures are on my food channel, my cooking channel. If you didn't know, I have a cooking channel. Now you know, I have a cooking channel. The link's in the description somewhere. It's in the video description of all my videos. Yeah, food adventures, I don't know, just been kind of perfecting things, trying new things. I've kind of decided that I need to focus more on Indian food just moving forward because it just ticks so many boxes. It's delicious. It's my husband's and my favorite food pretty much. It's really tasty leftover, so I can make a big batch of it and then not have to cook every day and save a lot of time. It's pretty healthy, especially the vegetarian Indian dishes. But even the non-vegetarian Indian dishes are generally pretty healthy as well. They're rather economical for a similar reason as well. I can get spices cheap at the Indian market, so that's cool. So yeah, that culinary adventure, just getting more and more into Indian food, perfecting that a little bit more. And, I recently, as in a few days ago, made sweet potato fries that were good for the first time. I struggled with fries for a while, with homemade fries. I tried initially that method where you deep fry it twice, once to cook it on a low temperature and then once again to blast it. I think part of the problem is my stove. It's just so crappy. It's an apartment stove and it's inconsistent and the heat levels are not reliable. So, yeah, what I do now is I boil it first. I boil the potatoes first and then I fry them. And that works super, super well for me. And I tried it with sweet potatoes and it worked really well. And that was good. Good food adventure. All right. So that was Facebook. One question. Let's go to Twitter. Let me find that tweet. I have been using Twitter a lot more lately. If you don't follow me there, you can go follow me. I actually, I use Twitter now much more than any other, I'm on Instagram, but I rarely post, and I also rarely scroll because I don't like the user interface, which I like. I like that I don't like the user interface because then I don't use it. That's kind of why I switched over, so that I wouldn't be, because I used to be on Facebook all the time, just scrolling mindlessly, and it was terrible, and I felt like I was wasting so much time. Okay, I'm gonna click on me, and then look at all of the things I post. I retweeted too many things. Where is the post? I should have used a hashtag. Okay, here it is. Okay, Red Bard Kennedy, hi. She asked, what made you decide, I can read. What made you, that's why I'm wearing my glasses, so I could read, and I still can't read. What made you decide to start talking about translation on YouTube? Oh, this is a story. So, as I mentioned before, I have a cooking channel, and I had to crack my neck. And so I was uploading videos to that channel for like 2.5 years, very faithfully. Every single Tuesday without fail, I'd upload a video. But it was a very, non-growing channel because, well, for many reasons. One, I didn't have a microphone, so you couldn't really hear what I was saying without turning up the volume really high. And I didn't, do titles or thumbnails. I just said, episode 10. I'm like, what? No one's going to click on that. So between not really anyone watching the show and me just having done it for 2.5 years, I got kind of burnt out on the cooking. And I was inspired to make a song parody about Sailor Moon Crystal, basically to critique why I thought original Sailor Moon was better than Crystal, and I did so in song parody form. A lot of you might have seen that. It's my biggest video by far on this channel. But that's the thing, I wasn't logging on to YouTube regularly. I just kind of uploaded that video in the middle of nowhere, and at that point, and it blew up without me even knowing it blew up because I wasn't logging in. And then I was looking at the comments on that video in the spring of 2016, and I noticed to the right in the suggested videos, there was a video about going to a Sailor Moon cafe in Japan. And I was like, whoa, shit, that's awesome. And I clicked on that, and it was a Rachel and Jun video. And it was Rachel and some other person, some other white chick. They were in the Sailor Moon cafe. And then that led me down the J-vlogger rabbit hole. I didn't know about the J-vlog community. I didn't know about AniTubers. I didn't know about any of that. This is spring of 2016, 4 years ago. And then I thought, oh, I wonder, I should see if there are any, anime translators that I can follow and, look at their content. And I searched, and I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anyone talking about translating. I could find videos occasionally, isolated videos here and there of people just, casually talking about being a translator or, translating one thing. And yeah, there just wasn't anyone else doing it. And then something clicked. I was already feeling the bug, I wanted to start making videos again, but I didn't know if I wanted to do cooking videos anymore. And then I saw, well, there's this need, no one's really making videos about this, so I can do that. And then I can also satisfy my need to make videos. So that's basically why I started. Yeah, that's it. That's my story. And the rest is history, woo! Okay, so Greg asks, are there still aspects of the Japanese language that give you a hard time? I know you said their number kanji are kind of difficult for you at once. Oh, not the number kanji, just the counting in general, all the counters and stuff. And big number kanji, I guess. So aspects. I did see this question before and I was thinking about it, and what I came up with, there's plenty of things that I have trouble with, but the main thing that does still trip me up, and it annoys me that it trips me up because this is kind of beginner intermediate level stuff, which I will cover in my upcoming intermediate Japanese series, but the passive voice verbs and the potential verbs, I sometimes especially if it's a verb that ends in ru, taberareru, can eat, but also that's also close to passive, was eaten. And also the saseru forms of verbs, like I do this verb to someone, like tabe saseru, like I feed this to somebody. Those endings kind of trip me up sometimes, especially when it's like ex ni verb. I sometimes get confused, like is X doing the verb to Y, or is Y doing the verb to X? So that confuses me sometimes. If it's a verb that ends in ru, basically, regardless of if it's a ru verb or an u verb, sometimes that trips me up quite a bit. Yeah, that. Hardy asks, when you first started your year in Japan, how much Japanese did you know, and what was it like going to school when you didn't speak the language? Specifically, how did classes work? Did you have different assignments from your classmates, etc.? So I had taken 2 years of high school Japanese, which is about the equivalent of, like, once I'm done with Genki 2, that series on this channel, that's about the level I was at when I went to Japan, because I had 2 years high school Japanese plus a lot of just me plowing through manga by myself and not understanding most of it, and watching Ava unsubbed. That was a ride, watching Ava unsubbed with 2 years of high school Japanese. Yeah, it's confusing enough with the subtitles, but without the subs, wow. Actually, it was sometimes less confusing because I could just make up what they were saying. But anyway, don't fall asleep. Anyway, yeah, 2 years high school Japanese and just some self-study. Incidentally, after 2 years of high school Japanese and after this Genki Volume 2 series that I'm going to do in 2021, by that point you should be ready for just learning by input, like just reading manga and then learning from context. That's kind of the level that you'll be at by then, and that's the level I was at. It's like I didn't know Japanese super well, but I was at a level where I could learn Japanese through Japanese. Like I could use Japanese to learn Japanese. So that was a pretty good level to be at, actually. I could carry on regular conversations with people. I couldn't really understand, like when people spoke with each other, I couldn't really understand anything, but when they talked to me, I could understand pretty much everything because I was half of the conversation. So that helped. Also, I was in Iwate and some people spoke with a thick accent for that area, so that was kind of weird. What was it like going to school when I didn't speak the language and stuff? Okay, so they just let me do whatever I wanted, basically. I was in a bunka kosu, which is like the culture course. Depending on which kumi you're in, they give you different like electives. It's sort of like different emphasis. Like A and B kumi were more about ag science. I went to an agricultural high school, by the way. So A kumi and B kumi were more like ag science classes, and they were more like practical, how to grow things and then how to like market your things that you have grown. I don't know, I didn't take those classes, I'm just guessing. C kumi was more just a general education, and then D kumi, which I was in, was like culture and care for the elderly, and then I was in that culture area because I was like, well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to learn the language and the culture, so I might as well be in this class. And so some of our classes were hands-on, like cooking and sewing and like Japanese sewing, and flower arrangement and tea ceremony and stuff like that. Like those classes I participated in. But math and science and all that, like I just honestly sat at my desk and read manga and nobody really cared. Except then by the end of the year, like we got a new math teacher and he wouldn't accept my bullshit. He was like, oh, you can totally do this. You can speak Japanese. I'm like, fuck, yeah, I can now. Great. And so like the last 2 months I had to do math along with everybody else, but most of my teachers were just like, they were fine letting me just sit there. Like Japanese classes are not, I don't know where this person was from. Hey, I can kind of look because I'm on Twitter. Are you, doesn't say anything. Okay, well, I don't know where this question asker Hardy is from. But yeah, in the US, classes are more interactive. You know, there's discussions in classes. In Japan, they weren't so interactive. It was mostly just the teachers lecturing to us all day. And there wasn't really homework that I knew of either. There were tests. When they took tests, I just read manga. It's like, I already graduated high school in the US, so I didn't need class credits. So I just read manga for the most part, unless it was a class that I could participate in, like, you know, sewing or whatever. Wayne asks, best dessert to eat or make if time and money were not an issue? Ooh, it depends on what mood I'm in, really. Best dessert to make, like, sometimes I'm in the mood to make something and I want to make something really epic and impress people, including myself. If I'm in that mood, I want to make something really complicated. Oh, I don't want to edit this video, otherwise I'd like put a picture of it next to my face. But anyway, I'll describe it then. So when I was in Quebec with my husband a couple summers ago, we had this French, pastry cake. I see stuff like this on Great British Bake Off. If you're a Great British Bake Off fan, it's usually like semi-final territory when they have you make this like really impressive French thing that involves lots of different techniques in it. So like the bottom was a clafoutis, which is like a thick pancake, and then there was like a mousse and a gelatin layer and like a sponge cake layer and then like a mirror glaze and like chocolate work and stuff. I like making stuff like that, like when I do have the time and if I just want to challenge myself and impress people. That's always fun. And flavor-wise, I tend to like, at least nowadays, I'm gravitating more towards, like, if it's a cake, a simple sponge with like a creamy sort of filling rather than a frosting, like a curd or a mousse or pastry cream or whipped cream or something like that. I like that kind of thing. But I'm also very basic and I love fresh baked chocolate chip cookies, so it just depends on what mood I'm in. I made a Yule log for today, and it's in the fridge right now, kind of chilling. I fucked up the sponge. It was a Genoise, and this is like my third time ever making Genoise, because this is my third time ever making Yule log. My first Yule log was kind of crappy and it cracked a bunch. My second Yule log, last year's Yule log, was epic and perfect and it didn't crack at all and it was gorgeous. And I took pictures. Maybe I'll edit those in. Probably not. But that was a good one, and this Yule log cracked a bunch. I kind of fixed it with chocolate icing, but it still doesn't look the prettiest, so I'm not going to bring it out and show you. But, that's good too, because it's like a sponge cake with curd, orange ginger curd, this one blood orange ginger curd, and a blood orange syrup soak for the sponge cake, and which was a Genoise. It was just a vanilla. And then the chocolate glaze is basically dark chocolate and butter mixed together, melted together. And then you add a little tiny bit of water, and then I spiked it with a little triple sec since I'm doing like a chocolate orange theme. And then I'll probably garnish the whole thing with candied ginger as well. I put some candied ginger in the curd. Yeah, that, I like that. That's a good dessert. Ashley asks, since you dislike leaving honorifics in your translations, how would you translate terms like senpai, like in Oran, when Tamaki goes, when on vacation, don't treat me as your senpai, or something like that? Funimation just left it as is in the dub, but how would you do it? I've never seen Oran, the host club or whatever. I saw like the first episode and I thought it was cute and I like was gonna watch more, but I didn't. So I don't know about that example specifically. But yeah, like I speak hyperbolically sometimes and like, oh, never translate this thing that way or always translate this thing this way. But I never really do think in black and white like that. Like there are always exceptions. And a lot of the whether or not I leave in honorifics, etc. in my translations has to do more with my client and less with me. Like I personally have come to very much like not leaving honorifics in, but my clients insist that I leave them out. Sometimes there are exceptions, like the anime I translated this season, I actually had an honorific in there, and the main reason I left it in there was because it became a major plot point. And I could have changed that honorific to something else that was more localized, but I kept it because it's an anime more for otaku, I'd say. I'd say it's a little bit less for general audiences. They would be less likely to start watching it. I think general audiences would really like the anime, but it's a little more otaku-y. Yeah, I can't say more because I'm not allowed to divulge the title of the anime because I signed a non-disclosure agreement. But I do leave honorifics in sometimes. And as far as senpai goes, like there are ways around it. Like when on vacation, don't treat me as your senpai. Yeah, I mean, like when we're on vacation, we're equals. Like that makes a little more sense. Instead of don't treat me as your senpai. But again, I haven't seen Oran, so like maybe it was perfect to leave it as senpai in there. And then as far as senpai goes, I'm just talking about senpai specifically because that was the question or the example. I'm much more likely to omit senpai if it's a hyphenated suffix to a name. Like if it's the person's name and then senpai, I'm more likely to just have the name and no senpai. But if like a character is calling somebody senpai and like there's no other name attached to it and it's just senpai, like then I might leave it as senpai, especially if it's significant somehow, you know, to their relationship or to the characters or to the story or something. But again, my clients will usually not let me even keep it in, so that's usually what dictates it. Okay, that was all the Twitter questions. Unless I magically missed one. Let's go to my YouTube post. YouTube post. Yeah, the last time I uploaded was 20 days. Wow, okay. There it is. Go to Community tab. There's just a picture of my dumb face drinking tea. Here are the questions. Okay, Maximiliano. Some picture luck. Yep, that's totally how that is pronounced. What was the easiest and hardest part of Japanese when you first started? Do you feel like nowadays that response would be different? Oh, okay. The easiest part of Japanese when I started was that I was a weeb and I was obsessed with anime and was watching it all the time. So I was very, very, very emotionally invested in learning Japanese. That was the easiest. The hardest part about learning Japanese when I started was, I guess like starting it technically, because when I wanted to start learning Japanese, I was a sophomore in high school and my high school didn't offer Japanese yet. And YouTube wasn't a thing yet and the internet wasn't really a thing yet. So I was lucky enough, I was blessed to live in an area where I was near a Kinokuniya bookstore. I could buy Japanese manga, I could rent Japanese anime, not subtitled. I didn't know about fan subs yet. So yeah, it was just like finding out how to start studying Japanese when I wanted to start. Thankfully, my junior year, the very next year, my high school started offering classes, so I started taking them. That was the hardest part. It was like, where do I even learn? And then nowadays, if I wanted to start learning Japanese, what would be the easiest and hardest? Kind of swapped, really. The easiest part would be, hey, it's real, go on the internet, you can learn anything. And then the hardest part would be, well, I don't really care, I don't want to learn it. Like people ask me nowadays if I want to learn another language or like, what's the next language you're going to learn? And it's like, it's not necessarily the case that I'm interested in languages. I just love anime and manga. It's like, that's why I learned Japanese. So yeah, like without something to inspire me, like people have asked me, oh, are you going to learn Korean next? And it's like, well, I'm not into K-pop. I'm not into K-dramas. I'm not into any of that. And like, I don't know if I could be, as obsessed with those things as I was when I was a teenager. Like, you change when you get older, and it's much, much more difficult to get obsessed with things. Yeah, so that it would be reversed, basically. The easiest part would be, I can learn it online. The hardest part would be, well, I don't really want to. Not inspired. How much time do I have before my camera turns itself off? Ooh, I got like 6 minutes. I might have to start a new file. That'll be the editing part. I'll have to put them together, unless I answer these next questions really quickly and shortchange these people. No, I'll answer them properly. Okay. Zutter Jenna asks, do you like to watch Japanese movies and shows that are not anime on Netflix? If so, which ones would you recommend? I do sometimes. I watched, actually the very first thing that I watched when I got Netflix, like 6-7 years ago, was Bunraku. It was a Japanese movie that had gakuto in it. That's why I watched it, because it had gakuto. It's okay. It's not really my thing. I don't like violence. But I did watch a couple shows. So, oh God, what's it called? I don't know what it's called. Oh, I hate this when I don't know what something's called. But anyway, it's this it's this cute little TV series that features this retired guy. He like recently retired, and he's on this quest to like enjoy food or whatever. And like each episode deals with him like going to a different place, and like in one of them he goes to a ramen place, and it's like the owner is so surly and mean, and it's so dirty and stuff that he winds up like running out of the restaurant because he's so freaked out, and then he goes home and he has instant ramen, and he discovers the true value of instant ramen from that episode. That was a really good pitch, and I'm sure that convinced a lot of people to watch the show. It was like 2 or 3 years ago that I watched that, so I don't remember it very well, but that was good. And then there was this other one that I watched, horribly, horribly localized, Japanese style originator. Worst localized title ever. I have a feeling that the original Japanese developers wanted that title. 9 out of 10 times there's a crappy title, it's because the Japanese company had that title. Anyway, that was kind of a cool show. It's like a variety show, and it goes into a lot of like Japanese culture stuff with Japanese celebrities, you know, typical Japanese variety show stuff. I actually like Japanese variety shows. They're fun. I think those are the only like non-anime stuff that I've watched recently that's Japanese. I used to watch Japanese TV all the time when I was in Japan, and it was mostly variety shows. I really liked those, like Hey 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 Music Champ and Music Station. I like Emuste, what? Oh yeah, Music Station. Okay. Solis Cuatro. There's an accent over the O though, so I don't know how to pronounce that. Anyway, any tips with acquiring vocabulary? Hee hee. Repetition. Yeah, basically. Yeah, repetition. Like, get yourself some flashcards. Also, just if you use the words, you're more likely to remember them, and let that happen organically. Don't feel bad if, like, don't try to learn a bunch of vocabulary that you're not necessarily going to use, because who cares if you know that vocabulary or not. Focus on vocabulary that you know you're going to use all the time. Vanessa Moore, not a serious question, but just one I wanted to ask. So in Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, well, I'm about to do a video on that, there's this scene where Kanna makes up a slang word, I'm assuming, maji yabakune. It's localized as that's wicked. If you were to localize it, what would you have gone with? And how good of a localization do you think that's wicked is? Maji yabakune, that's not a made up word. So maji is like for real or frickin' or fucking, depending on how crass that character is. And then yabakune, assuming this is correct, I don't know. I don't know, but yabai is a slang word that exists. It's an established slang word, and oh god, it means so many things. It means bad, but lots of different things. Like yabai is like, oh, we're in deep shit or something like that. It's like, oh crap. But it's not necessarily literally vulgar or about poop. But yeah, it means like uh-oh. And then yabakune is like, whoa, dude, like we're in trouble, eh? If you're Canadian, that's kind of how you'd say that. Yeah, that's wicked is a good localization, depending on who's saying it. Funny coming from Kanna, since she's kind of an evil dragon. I forget, is she also a chaos dragon? I'm like literally making a video about this. Actually, I'm not making a video about like the symbolism of the story, just like certain translated lines. But yeah, I thought Kanna was also like a chaos dragon, just like Toru. Anyway, yeah, that's wicked is fine. Feminine Frenzy asks, is there anything that hasn't been translated yet that you would love the chance to get to work on? Glass Mask, the manga series. Yup. I fucking love that manga, and apparently it doesn't have an English translation yet that's official. Miuchi Suzue, the mangaka, who wrote it, apparently like she knows that there's fan translations, and she's very bothered by that because she wants it done justice. So yeah, I would love to translate that. That was like my host sister had that whole manga series when I was in Japan, which at the time it was only 41 volumes long, and it's not even 50, it's barely like 50 volumes right at the moment. I think it's like 49 volumes long. She started it in the 70s, still hasn't finished it yet. It's so good. It's really good. It's about a young girl who wants to be an actress, and like I have a very strong theatrical performing arts background, so a lot of it resonates with me, and like I know like a lot of what's being talked about in there, so it's just really good too. I would love to translate that. Aquamarine Dream. Any advice for someone with good language skills and feedback on past translation work but difficulty finding regular clients? Is it just a matter of persistence? Do you have any questions? I always feel bad when people ask me for advice on how to get jobs. Like, A, because I know like it's hard out there, everyone's struggling. Like I'm technically sort of struggling too, at least financially. Like I got a pretty good workload this year, but like, I don't know, it's still not enough for this insanely high cost of living in my country. Yeah, it's a matter of persistence, but also I'm finding a lot of the old avenues that used to work just don't work anymore. Like I used to just tell people go on pros.com, etc. Like that's how I found work. But nowadays I have a feeling a lot more work, at least better quality work, will come from networking and honestly Twitter. Like go on Twitter and like find all the translators and localizers. Everyone's on there and they're very active. I wish I had known that many years ago. Like I didn't become really active on Twitter till like a year ago, and it actually would have helped. My camera turned itself off. That must mean that I have about a half hour already done. This is going to be a long video. Maybe I'll upload it in 2 parts. I don't know. Anyway, that was my husband opening and closing the bathroom door. So yeah, finding work. Get a Twitter social network. I heard LinkedIn is also good too. I just hate, I don't want like a zillion social media accounts. I want one. I don't want to have to log in all these different places and have like different groups of friends everywhere. I want just one centralized. Anyway, yeah. Persistence for sure. And also networking. And I'm also not the best person to ask because like I'm not the highest in the field here. I'm actually a pretty mediocre translator. I work for an agency and don't get credited for my work. So I have stuff to learn too. Do you have any opinions or perspectives on the process? Oh, that was my husband opening the door again. Do you have any opinions or perspectives on the process of language acquisition and maintenance? Very wordy here. And how it changes the way you view the world. Oh, right. Not really. I don't have opinions or perspectives. Yeah, I've noticed like there are certain little things in language here and there that I do think change people's perspectives a little bit. Like for a little example, something like pronouns, like gendered pronouns. Japanese has gendered pronouns for I and me, which can be kind of empowering for people because then they themselves can project like this is the gender that I want to be perceived as. Because like if I, a female, used ore pronoun consistently, I could then use that to communicate to people, hey, I am a masculine woman, or I'm mask, I'm trans, or, you know, you can do stuff like that you can't really do in English with pronouns. Little things like that, sure. And then like another example I always bring up is the word chigau. In Japanese, it means different and wrong. That's pretty loaded. Just because something's different doesn't mean it's wrong, but that kind of goes with their whole culture too. So stuff like that, it is a thing. It does play a factor a little bit, but I don't know. I can't really speak much on that because I'm not an expert. If you learn German, this person asked lots and lots of questions. Oh, what the hell, it's Christmas, I'll answer it. If you learned German as a child, I did, and Japanese as an adult, teenager adult, how did the relationship you had to those languages differ? Again, with Japanese, I just had that emotional investment. I loved anime and wanted to, I was obsessed. Therefore, I wanted to learn Japanese. German was more just like my dad translated it for a living, and I went to Samstagsschule. Like every Saturday, I'd go to this like German-speaking school for German immigrant children, and we'd like, Christmas was fun. They know how to do Christmas, the Germans. Weihnachten, Christmas carols and the tree and all the cookies. But yeah, I wasn't as invested in German, so I didn't like work as hard at it, and then it flew out of my brain and got replaced with Japanese. If you are passionate about languages, why is that? I said earlier, I'm not actually really that passionate about languages. I'm passionate about art and storytelling and stuff like that, which is why I got into like game and anime localization, because it's the storytelling aspect of it that I really like. It's not necessarily, ooh, I love languages. Is your thinking different based on the language you are using? That you already asked that question. Solus Quattro, again, with people with their multiple questions. That's okay. Do you translate literary stuff as well, like manga or books? No, I would love to translate manga, actually. Yeah, I think I need to start like approaching people personally for that if I really want to get into that. As far as books go, you have to be like really good. Like not only be like a really good translator, but a really good writer. And again, like I'd like to write books. I just like to write English books. I would like to write, I have like a couple novels on my hard drive in here that I wrote that are in English that may or may not ever see the light of day. But yeah, it's like I want to write books, and translating books would be cool too. But like, I'm sure that is even like, I'm sure that's like 100 times more competitive than game and anime localization, which already it's hard enough for me to get good work that pays me well and that I actually get credited for. So I'm not like gonna actively pursue that. I'd probably rather just write my own novels. Do you want to watch Sailor Moon Eternal later? Yes. I do actually like Sailor Moon Crystal okay. Just the first season was kind of crappy, and like I wish that they had gone in a different direction with it instead of just kind of copying the manga. But yeah, I do want to watch Sailor Moon Eternal, so I probably will. I don't know where to find it. I'm not one of those be the first kid on the block to see the new thing kind of people anymore with anime. I only really care if I'm worried about being spoiled, and I'm not really worried about being spoiled for that, so I'll wait. That was all the questions. Okay, so thank you for asking all the questions and for sticking with this channel, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and all that stuff. Ooh, and thank you to, I needed to make sure to thank a person who sent me PayPal money. Kelso Otero sent me PayPal money, and I bought this scented candle at Ross with it. It's really nice. It's cranberry. It smells really good, and it's red for Christmas. So thank you for the PayPal money. I bought myself a candle for Christmas. That is all. So expect some video from me besides this one in a few days to a week. I don't want to make any promises, because who knows, maybe I'm going to get more surprise translating work out of nowhere, or I won't sleep well or something, and I will take too long to do it. Ooh, another notification. Nope, somebody just liking a tweet, not asking a question. Okay, that's all. Goodbye.